Welcome to the From Concealment Podcast, the show for firearm enthusiasts who like to shoot, train, carry, and compete. Get ready for some shooting and sight, firearm and accessory reviews, and of course, insight on concealed carry. And now, broadcasting from behind enemy lines in the From Concealment studio, it's Pete Mitchell and Dan Sams.
Hey, Freedom Nation. You're listening to the From Concealment Podcast, and I'm Pete Mitchell.
And I'm Dan Sams.
And I got everything all out of order there. Hey, I'm getting a little jump on the game.
It's all right. Facebook was making it difficult for us, so you don't need to sweat it, man.
It was Facebook, it was Google, it was all of the tech giants that are trying to keep the conservative down. They were just having it in for me.
Well, hey, at least what you said made sense. It wasn't like the Pelosi flub. Did you see that one where she just all of a sudden says, "Good morning, Sunday morning"? Like she's in the middle of an interview and she just starts glitching out. And they're assuming it's because of her teleprompter going wrong, I think. But I mean, like somebody asks her a question, she's talking,
That's
she's
a good
chatting.
way to save it.
Yeah, and then they ask another question and she just goes, "Good morning, Sunday morning." And everybody's like, what's going on? George Stephanopoulos is interviewing her, and you kind of see him going, like he's like, what the heck just happened? And yeah, I mean, it could just be their Manchurian, system, had a bug in it, or
Did you see that clip from Biden? By the time I finish this talk, 200 million Americans will be dead from COVID.
I heard about it. That's awesome.
I saw the clip on Twitter. It was, I'm like, okay, I get if you don't like Trump. Believe me, I get that. But seriously, how can you vote for that guy? He clearly has dementia. He's going to have his finger on the button for at least an hour until he resigns.
Until Harris
becomes president.
Did you hear that one where Harris talks about, and a Harris administration will mean
with Biden. Joe Biden. That's what she said, a Harris administration with Joe Biden. And then he said the exact same thing on the same day.
Yeah. I mean,
he said a Harris administration with Joe Biden. It was like,
they're not even playing around with it. They're just flagrant about what they're doing. I genuinely feel sad for him. Like this is starting to feel like elder abuse to me. Like this is a dude who is not, I'm serious. Like he is not well. It's clear that he's not well. And it kind of breaks my heart. I'm like, man, if that was my granddad, like, I'd be like, man.
Why did he run? Did he run because it was like, I'm not going to win, so let's just go ahead and run, get some more money? Why did he run?
I have no idea.
It doesn't. Why did everyone vote for him? They had all those other candidates. Like I was talking to my neighbor yesterday, and he goes, "We got 350 million Americans, and these are the two best we could put up."
Yeah,
it's just like.
I would say that for most elections. And my theory on this is that good people don't want to control other people, right? Like I'm happy living my life, ministering to my church, ministering to my family, working hard, right? That's joy for me. I don't want to go and tell other people how they should live their lives, right? Like that's not how most people want to do. So the kind of person who wants to run for office, I've already been like what's wrong with you, man? Why do you want to do this? And they'll say, well, I just want to help people. And I'm like, you realize like we've been at this like 200 years and people keep saying that and they keep like, sending missiles to children in Pakistan and stuff like that. So, I mean, is that really what you're in it for? Because just the track record's not good for people like you. And so that's not that everybody, like I recognize, I'm sure like we got a few good ones, I'm sure, but they're pretty few and far between. Let's be honest. So
they always have some major flaw. Like every single one of them has some major flaw.
Well, and then think about like how deals are made. Like, I mean, I'm just looking at like local level, like township stuff. I can only, and I've had my share of interactions at the state level and whatever. I look how things happen. I'm like, how can you maintain any type of integrity and get into one of those positions? I don't think you can. And so unless there's some miracle that happens and so anyway, crazy times. I'm not a fan. So the fact that these are the best we get to offer, can you just imagine?
And it's been man, it's been a crazy week. So we record this podcast the day we release it. So and I was telling Dan right before we started, I'm like, I'm kind of glad we're doing that.
Yeah.
Because 2020 has just been such a crazy year. I was like, look, we wait a week, we're already like well behind what's coming or what just happened. And with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or that's what it is, right?
Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Yep.
I always get those initials mixed up. So I'm like, did I say it right? So she passed away this last week. And I mean, I was like, when that happened, I was like, okay, first of all, we all knew that was coming. We knew that was coming a long time ago.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm like, okay, so this might actually be the highest voter turnout year ever because of that.
Yeah.
Because there's no way Trump's going to get anyone pushed through before the election. Technically, he's still president until January 21st, no matter what happens.
Yep.
So, I mean, certainly he's within his constitutional rights to nominate someone. The Senate doesn't have to approve them. They usually don't. They usually get so much crap. So, I mean, what are the odds? And if Biden wins in November, no one's going to push him through.
Yeah.
It's just, they're going to be like, no, we're going to let the next Senate deal with this because the Senate's going to change and new members will be in. And, man, I'm looking at this whole thing just going, wow, what a crazy year 2020 has been and promises to still be.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm afraid it's going to get worse before it gets better. We'll see. I thought it was interesting to see the liberal people saying like, after there's been so much accusation of anybody who likes guns and is concerned about things being considered a domestic terrorist, and then all of a sudden the Ginsburg thing happens, and the liberals are like, if the Republicans push through a nominee, we're going to have a civil war, and we're all like, well, okay, let's do that. Sounds great.
No,
Would you got time next week?
No, but wait, we got to get our guns. No, we're already ready. We're good.
Ready. Yeah, we're ready.
Let's go.
And then they're like, well, maybe let's just call this off. Oh, no, you already committed. It's got to happen. Oh,
yeah.
If
they had like a bunch of states that broke away, like Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, the eastern half of Washington, eastern half of Oregon, I would go.
Yeah.
I'd be like, fine, that's my new country. I will go. Let's go. Because what is happening right now, it's craziness. Like, I don't know. I'm not really a big Ben Shapiro guy, but I don't know if you saw this last week. He's moving his whole company, Daily Wire, tens of millions of dollars in annual income out of California to Tennessee. They're moving. There's 75 employees, those that want to go, which is apparently a majority of them.
Yeah.
Taking them all, they're leaving. Joe Rogan, who just got his $100 million from Spotify, he's leaving or left already. He's already in Texas now. Elon Musk, he's going to be moving soon.
Yep.
He's moving to Texas. They're like, I mean, here's the thing. If you have the means to leave, you're going to leave. Because California is out of its mind. Like, literally, the leadership is just crazy. Hey, let's shut down the economy. Let's raise everyone's taxes. I know all these wildfires out here caused by arson, but, we can claim it's global warming and everyone's going to believe it. And it's like, you're crazy. You are literally crazy. You're corrupt and crazy. California. Corrupt and crazy. That should be its slogan.
Corrupt and crazy. Yeah.
Corrupt and crazy.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, and so you look at that just economically, people are moving and they're moving to freer states. So if we did have some kind of a break off, I mean, I think about the liberal states being left holding the bag, think about the debt. Did you see the joke of like the Babylon Bee of the last guy left in California stuck with paying the, however many $billion tax tab. And it just shows a guy going, "Oh," but that's basically a caricature of what is really happening. Like there is as people are like, I don't want to pay these taxes, and here it's tax and spend there, and there's nobody to tax.
Well, it's spend and then tax. Like they've already spent the money.
Yeah, it's bad, man. So, and then you have things like I think it was in San Diego, San Francisco, I think, where the gym owners that found out that the government-run gyms had been open the whole time.
Yes.
I mean, that's just tyranny on top of tyranny.
Yeah.
And so now even people that, I mean, if you're living in San Francisco, you're probably, not exclusively, I know a lot of I actually know some people in San Francisco. They're not particularly liberal, but a lot of people there are there because it's
my whole family's
city.
In San Francisco, and I'm telling you, that place is a liberal sinkhole.
Yeah, and so like even the liberals, I think, are starting to be like, "What the heck is going on?" And
I don't think they are.
You don't think so?
They're still blaming it on the Republicans, and it's like you don't understand. The Republicans are pretty much just as liberal as you guys, so I don't know why you're blaming them.
Yeah,
it's this bad policy.
Yep. Anyway, so that's.
I know that doesn't jive well with people. They're like, no, you can't say anything bad about Republicans. No.
Like, no, they're terrible too. Yeah.
Dude, they're just as liberal.
Yeah.
Look, okay. First of all, everyone that I know who's a conservative, they're like, oh no, you got to vote Republican because of the abortion issue. I go, wait a second. We had a Republican president, Republican House, Republican Congress, and a majority of Supreme Court justices appointed by Republicans, and we still have abortion. So shut up.
Yep.
It's nothing to do with that.
Yeah. And I'm not advocating for this, but I've questioned. So we know the Democrats are going to kill babies. The Republicans don't seem interested enough in stopping the killing of babies. So I'm not advocating this, but I've argued
because too many of those leaders, the Republican leaders, if you will, have gotten women knocked up and had them an abortion. So
I think we have that. I think the other thing is it's their boogeyman, right? If you lose their boogeyman, how are they going to get elected again, right?
That's true.
They got to keep the boogeyman alive. And not firsthand, but I've heard of comments like that made. The other thing I've thought about, and I'm not advocating this, I'm just saying it would be an interesting thing. A libertarian candidate might not be necessarily pro-life, but they don't want the government paying for jack, right? So right now, I'm like, our government funds Planned Parenthood like crazy. So I'm like, could it be that the most pro-life thing we could do would be to get a libertarian who might not even be pro-life, but would at least start keeping the money that the government's subsidizing all this,
right?
Like, and I don't know. Like, right now, I don't even know what I'm going to do other than maybe write in Jesus on the ballot or write myself in. I don't know. Probably Jesus. We'll see.
I think I don't know if I mentioned this. I was talking with a family member, extended family member. I'll leave their anonymity at just extended family member.
All right.
And we were having dinner one night. A whole bunch of us there. You know, my son Luke, 9 years old, he's there, and obviously, like, your kids are influenced by the parents big time.
Yeah. So
clearly, if you listen to this podcast, you know we are not fans of the tyranny from coronavirus. Right. The mandated you must wear a mask crap. All the closing down of private businesses. Meanwhile, your government businesses are staying full open and getting full pay.
Yeah.
So, you know, my son's like, oh, we got to make sure that Trump gets in again or something like that. And I was like, well, just so you know, I'm not voting for Trump. And he's like, what? You're not voting for Trump? And this extended family member's there, right? And she's like,
record screech.
Yeah, she's like, well, who are you voting for? And I go, look, I don't really know right now, but I mean, if I had to pick someone, it would be Joe Jorgensen, because I'm like, she's the libertarian candidate. I'm just like, I don't care, right? As long as it's not one of those two, I'll vote for someone else. Yep. And she's like, well, why would you waste your vote? And I go, we live in California. Do you think a vote for Trump is going to count for anything?
Yeah.
She goes, no. And I go, so why would you waste your vote? You know it's not going to count.
Yep.
And in my mind, you're just promoting, and they're never going to change. They're going to keep putting up idiot after idiot and never change if you keep voting for them.
Yep. You're exactly right.
Take away their votes.
Yep. I'm with you. Yep.
But, you 100%. Know, if I lived in a free state where it was like, or a battleground state, would I actually vote for Trump? I don't know. That would be a tough one for me. Yeah. If I was like, my vote actually counts in this state, like, you know, that would be a tough one for me. But in California, not tough at all. I can choose not to vote for either one of those two idiots and be just fine.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I'm with you, man. Yeah. I actually said during 2016, I wanted to be able to tell my grandkids that I didn't vote for either of them. And that's might be the same spot I'm in this time. We'll see.
I think the last time I voted for a Republican was McCain when he was running against Obama. And I wasn't like a big McCain fan, but I was like, no one will understand if I say, you know, Chuck Baldwin, who's like the Constitution Party guy, or who I don't remember who it was that year. I was like, but I want everyone to know I am not one of these Obama like worshipers. Like I mean, in California, everyone's like, oh, everyone's so filled with hope now that Obama's in office. And I'm like, dude, we travel in two different circles. My circle is not filled with hope because Obama's in office.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we had the same thing where we would run into people here and there. They were like, oh, this is such an answer to prayer. And I'm like, why, man? Like,
what prayer?
And then, I'm like, who are you praying to also? Are you praying to Moloch? And what's funny is they still look back on the Obama administration as if it was this wonderful time of peace and whatever. And I'm like, he killed a lot of babies, not just abortion, but like he was a warmonger for crying out loud.
Dropped a lot of bombs.
Dropped a lot of bombs. And I will acknowledge like he's much better smooth talker than Trump is, but like let's not pretend that this is a good man doing good things. He certainly came off very gentlemanly, but he's a murderer. I mean, this is war crimes.
But you can't say that about him. He's black.
Oh my. Actually, technically he's not.
Oh, really?
It's only 50%.
Well, that's black.
Ish, I guess. I mean, it depends. You count how you want to count. I don't know. Vodi Bakum actually is like, oh no, he's not our first black president. He's our first biracial president. And he holds the line on that. Vodi Bakum is like, no, he's not. And I'm like, all right, man, you do you. So anyway, that's the crazy stuff we're dealing with right now.
Well, guys, we actually have a couple of. Go ahead.
I was going to tell you, you get into it, man. And I was going to turn the corner and we talk about this.
Well, we had a couple of news articles come up this last week that I thought were worth us discussing. Are you still there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. Because your screen froze, so I wasn't sure what was going on. Yeah,
you froze too. Sorry. I'm back though. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on.
So this is from bearingarms.com. Came up probably on Google for me. Here's the headline: Former San Diego Sheriff Captain pleads guilty on gun charges. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to give you my own opinion on this. As I promise, I will always give you my own opinion. This is an opinion podcast. This is not some news podcast. But here's the deal. Here in the state of California, we've talked about this before. We have something called the handgun roster. The regular, everyday American citizen in the state of California cannot buy guns that are not on this roster from a dealer. So the guns on the roster, it's down to like 500 and some odd guns. I mean, think about how many pistols there are. There's a lot.
Not many guns. Yeah.
That's all that's left because California also charges them $25,000 a year to get on the roster. It's extortion money. And they have to pay that every year to stay on the roster. But they won't put any new firearms on the roster unless they meet the new California law, which says it must microstamp the bullet that's unique to that firearm, so that way they can trace it back to that firearm. Oh my
gosh, that's so ridiculous.
Well, no one makes that technology, so therefore no guns can be added. And no one's going to make that technology because no gun manufacturer is that stupid.
Yeah.
So we have a limited roster. And I've said this before, we are still on Gen 3 Glocks because we can't get Gen 4 or 5. They don't microstamp, so they cannot be added. By the way, they just passed a new law, or about to pass a new law here in California, that says for every one new gun that gets added to the roster, 3 have to come off. So they're really trying to limit it. like they're trying to get it smaller. But here's the deal: no new guns can get added, so I don't see what the big deal is.
Yeah,
but that's California, crazy and corrupt. What was it? Corrupt and crazy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's right. We should make that. We should make a California, like the guy who makes the Boogaloo patches of like the state flags. We should do one like a license plate with that tagline on it. We should start selling merch of like morale patches with our. Yeah, I can design those, but I don't know if our listener will want to buy all that we offer. So
right.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. Pretty much any government employee of note gets to buy off-roster guns.
Right.
It's only us everyday citizens that don't get to buy guns. If a cop wants to go buy a Glock 48, they're welcome to do so.
Yeah.
If a cop wants to buy a Gen 5 Glock 19, they're welcome to do so.
Yeah.
Because they are above the law. These laws are just for us peons. So this San Diego sheriff, he is accused of buying off-roster guns and turning around and selling them in private party transactions.
Uh-huh.
This is very common. This is a whole side business for cops in California.
Yeah.
Because I've mentioned this before, my Glock 43 cost me $825, and that was a steal.
Oh, my heart still hurts. Like every time you mention that, like my heart breaks for you, Pete. Like it's
That's
like
California.
My heart just hurts.
That's California. Yeah. You want a Glock 43? Like, and the reason why it was down as low as it was the P365 had just come out, and so that was in demand. That's about $1,200 to $1,300. Right now, if I wanted to buy the 43X, I'd be looking at probably $1,200 to $1,300 to buy that.
Oh.
Right. So we're talking about a gun that cost you $450 brand new at the dealer. California, it's the premium. That's why it's a side business for cops.
Of course.
So it is not uncommon, even though it is technically illegal for them to buy and then turn around and sell to a private party.
Yep.
It's technically against the law. But who's going to bust them? They're cops.
Yeah. Who's
going to bust them? So this guy, he acquired, so it says here in the article, he acquired around 144 firearms during that time, which was, I mean, it's 2013 to 2019. So that's a good, 5-6 years? I mean, 144 firearms in 6 years, that's not very much.
It's not crazy. Book. Yeah.
No. And he transferred 98 of them to others. So he still kept, 46 of them.
Yeah.
He could just be a gun collector. I mean, literally, I'm looking at that going, okay, but here's the deal. They're saying that he was doing that because he's planning or was planning on running for sheriff. And so he was, I could use your support. Oh, you wanted that Glock 48? I can get the Glock 48 for you. They're saying that's what he was doing. I believe the only reason this cop got busted is because he had his eyes on becoming a sheriff.
Yeah.
And someone probably didn't like it, whether it was the current sheriff or
the current sheriff.
Or it was someone else who's like, well, I don't like him and I control this sheriff over here. Oh, look at this. I know he sold a few guns over the years to some private party. Let's go after him for that. That's technically illegal. That's the reason why this dude got nailed for it, because this is not uncommon in California.
Yeah.
Like, how do you think I got the Glock 43? It wasn't technically from a cop. It was the guy had like a side gig as like a security something or other, but it was like a licensed thing. And so he was allowed to buy 2 guns a year. So he wasn't like a cop who could buy anything he wanted. He could buy 2 guns a year as long as they were black, off roster. Mm-hmm. So he sold me one of his.
So it's interesting because, establishing intent has to be kind of tricky. And to know that it was a straw sale, and I'm like, you technically can't know. You can't know that the sheriff thing was the reason. Like, I think that's probably what was going on. But it's always boggled me that, like, where it's legal to do something, but you're like, it's legal for him to buy a gun and sell it to someone else.
Right.
He can't do that if that was his preconceived intent in buying the gun in the first place.
Right.
But like, how do you know what intent is? Like, you can't prove that. He could have bought the gun and then that day been like, man, I don't like the way this gun fits. And he's got a friend that he knows is into guns. Like, hey, man, you interested in this? Well, if I know I can, get another $200, $300 out of it, more than what I paid, well, heck, yeah, well, let's do this. And this guy, you can't know intent. And that's always...
Well, that's the thing. And what a lot of cops would do, because they are legally allowed to sell guns in a private party transaction. They're not technically supposed to sell the guns that they bought off roster. But again, no one busts them for it.
Right.
Like the California Department of Justice is not going to go around checking cops at all. I mean, they're just not going to do that.
That's just not on their radar.
So what a lot of them will do is they'll buy a gun. When it comes in, they literally store it away somewhere, never touch it, a month, 3 months, 6 months, whatever, and then they sell it. Well, they had it for 6 months, and then you turn around and sell it. Maybe you didn't like it, maybe, whatever, and you certainly didn't know who you were going to sell it to. Right. So I think that would be a straw purchase if you're like, well, I'm going to sell it to this guy over here. I mean, the guy about the 43X, I don't know how long he had it. I have no idea. I actually just put out we've got a website called CalGuns. And I put on CalGuns, hey, look, I'm looking to buy a Glock 43. I want to spend $825 because I know I got to put new sights on it. That's going to cost me $100 because Glock sights suck. I'm like, so I'm looking to spend $825. And this guy reached out to me. Hey, I have a Glock. If you want it, Glock 43, if you want it, I'll sell it to you. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm sure he held on to it for a long time and finally got around to selling it.
Yeah. Or he already had the 43, he got the X, and he's like,
hey. No. Well, I don't think the X was out then. No, it wasn't. No. It was, yeah. But anyway, my point is in all of this, I kind of look at this and I'm like, what he's doing is not unusual in California. It's how we get the better guns, the newer guns. We have to buy them from private parties. There's only a couple of ways that they can come into the state. One is if you move to California, you could bring it. So by the way, any idiot who decides to move to California, stock up, go to CalGuns, see what all the guns are going for, just stock up on them, move to California, and then you can technically sell it because you didn't import it. You moved, which technically is importing, but because you moved to California, you get away with it. So you can move to California. Cops, other government employees, like we've mentioned on the podcast, I know one gal who's an ADA. She can buy off roster. I don't know what her rules are, but I know she buys off roster. And then I think a parent can transfer a gun to a child. If that parent is out of the state, they can transfer, I think, pretty much anything to that child, unless it's totally illegal in California. Like basically 50 caliber are illegal in California. Yeah.
Man, interesting though. So what's happening here? This is just a lesson in economics for everybody. Freedom finds a way. And so there's a demand, there's going to be a supply, right? Anytime that's happening, you make a law, we're going to find a way around it. And that's what's happened. Now, I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right that this guy gets to make money because he's got a badge. He gets to make an extra amount of money. And that's hampering the free market, but found a way. And the market will find a way and provide one way or the other, be that for good guys that just want to be able to carry a gun, or be that for wicked, terrible individuals that want to cause harm.
Right.
And so I feel like this naturally leads into the other thing we were going to talk about. So the other thing you mentioned this week, Pete, is about the statistics that who was it that did it? Was it Police Quarterly that provided the stats? Whatever it was, it turns out that concealed carry permit holders are more likely to obey laws than cops.
Is that not the funniest line ever?
Yeah, or not just more likely, that like across the board, per 100,000, statistically, they are better citizens who break the law less. And I just think that's beautiful. I don't even know how much we can comment on it. It's just, here is a glorious fact. This
is from AmericanRifleman.org. The article name, which came out on, actually, it's been out for a while. Fear and loading, permit holders obey laws better than cops.
Nice.
And going down, I'm going to see, let me get you some of the stats here. They were looking at.
Oh, they're looking at Police Quarterly. It looks like they got the number from Police Quarterly and they just compiled the numbers. Here's what's interesting. Permit holders are convicted of misdemeanors and felonies at less than a sixth of the rate for police officers. So it's only considering convictions, which I would argue the police officer is more likely to get off anyway. But
Right.
1/6
and that's what they were even saying in the article is a lot of them, are they even being reported what the cops are doing?
Which, do you remember way back, it might have been like a year ago, we did an episode where we talked about the FBI stats on when a cop shows up at a scene and has to use lethal force as opposed to a civilian. And the cop, interestingly enough, 6 times more likely to shoot the wrong person. How interesting here. They're also roughly 6 times more likely to commit a misdemeanor or other felonious, kind of.
Yeah. So here's some of the stats just to kind of put things into perspective. In Texas in 2016, the last year for which data is available, 148 permit holders were convicted of a felony or misdemeanor. That's a conviction rate of 12.3 per 100,000 permit holders.
Wow.
Among police, notice the key words here. Among police, firearm violations occur. So not all of their crimes, because we know they have a higher domestic violence and everything else. So just firearms violations occurred at a rate of 16.5 per 100,000.
Yikes.
And then among permit holders in Florida and Texas, the rate is only 2.4 per 100,000. Wow. So it is dramatically higher just for firearm violations, but they're taking in all of the violations of the permit holders.
Man, so that number would paint a much worse picture for the cops if we knew even all that aggregate data. And by the way, this is, of course, we're not here to knock cops on this. We're just pointing out the whole narrative that somehow a guy wearing a badge is the only guy who can fix a problem or the only guy who should be trusted with a firearm is just patently false. We know across the board, conceal carry permit holders do a better job of not only not shooting the right person, but also, in general, not committing crimes than even the police officers do. Again, not a knock on police officers, just more of a this. No,
I mean, because you look at what are those stinking liberal anti-gun organizations like Everytown? I think
Everytown for gun safety. Yeah.
And what are they all dread the idea of concealed carry permit holders.
Oh yeah.
And increasing that is so much dangerous and blah 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 blah. And it's like the stats don't bear that out. The stats bear out that concealed carry holders are safer, commit less crimes than even cops. And according to that line, than just their firearm violations.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, it's not a knock on cops. It's more of a, hey, look, no, we need more concealed carry holders.
Yeah.
We need more of the good guys.
Not to mention, that average 6-minute time for the cops to get on scene and recognize, even if they're there sooner, even if they're there in a matter of like 30 seconds, it's still not as fast as the person who's already on scene and has watched the situation unfold. You're still better off with the civilian concealed carry permit holder for so many reasons, but not the least of which is he's there already, ready to go. Same way you have a fire extinguisher in your house. Like, I don't not have a fire extinguisher because, the fire department exists. It's still going to take them time to get here. And my best defense is going to be stopping that fire before it gets out of hand.
And same realistically, one of the funny things that you just brought up about the fire extinguisher, you're much more likely to be in a house fire than in a gunfight.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yet, how many times do we even train on the fire extinguisher? Like, I haven't trained my 9-year-old son. Here's how you use it. If we're in an emergency, let me show you how to use it. And that's a mistake on my part because realistically, that's more of a threat than someone breaking in with guns, statistically speaking.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah, you want to be trained on all that. We do fire safety plan in our house, and we're late to the game. Like, it's been too long. You know, when you get the really little ones, they don't even understand what you're saying.
Right. Yep.
And if you're not careful, you forget like, oh, this kid can talk. He can learn how to do this, or she can learn how to do this. And so, yeah, we're just honestly, since we started homeschooling is when we're really getting into that and saying like, all right, now all of this, it's all part of our training now. Yeah. Which I don't know if I told you this, is related. I have a buddy of mine who's a deputy sheriff, and he did some community service thing on like what, teaching your kids what to do if they find a gun. And it's just good. Like you want to have a safety plan or whatever. And so I wrote out on his feed, like fictionalized story of like me training my kids. I'm like, kids, what's the number one rule of gun safety? Daughter, stay strapped or get clapped. And like,
I was going to say, never give the government your guns.
And then I went through the actual like gun safety things, but all in relation to like maintain trigger discipline, gun at the ready in case commies try to step. And then like we just walked through all of the rules of gun safety, but with like an added element of like, stopping tyranny. And it was great. And so his comment was, hey man, at least you got a plan.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, dude, it's good times.
I'm pulling up Joe Biden's website because I wanted to see if I could find real quick his gun policy, what he'd like to see implemented.
It's bad.
It's horrid, man.
It's real bad. Side note, while you're bringing that up, I'll give a shout out. Tyler, brother, thanks for being on here, watching us, man. Tyler's a faithful, like every week. Austin's on here. Dan Gibson. I need to not say everybody's last name. Dan Sanchez. So good to see you on here, man. A few other people have popped on and off. I know it's middle of the day, so not everybody gets a full lunch break to watch the show, but thanks for jumping on and being a part of what's going on. Feel free to share. Feel free to get your buddies. But we're glad to have you guys on here.
So here's some of the stuff. Hold gun manufacturers accountable. That's crap, dude. Do we hold Honda accountable because someone decided to go run someone over?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's crazy. It's ridiculous.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Get weapons of war off our streets. Well, are you going to also take those away from the cops? Or do you just mean get us less weapons than you have?
Well, and
that's really what you mean.
If we got weapons of war on the street, tell me what corner to buy them on. I haven't been able to get myself a saw in a long time. There's no cruise missiles that I've found on the street. Man, I need to get that Barrett 50
I would really
cal.
like to shoot off a cruise missile. Wouldn't that be fun? Or a bazooka or just any kind of rocket launcher type thing?
Like, here it comes, Canada!
Just fun.
Just kidding. We love our brothers to the north.
Ban the manufacture and sale of assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. Again, assault weapons is a made-up term. Mm-hmm. And high-capacity magazines, really what you mean is standard capacity magazines.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Let's see. Regulate possession of existing assault weapons under the National Firearms Act. Are you kidding me? Oh, geez. Buy back the assault weapons and high-capacity magazines already in our communities. You don't have enough money for that.
Yep.
Reduce stockpiling of weapons. Biden supports legislations restricting the number of firearms an individual may purchase per month to one. Okay, that's California, kind of.
Well, we've said before, it's always tested in California, rolled out for the rest of the country. Yeah.
Background checks for all gun sales. We have that in California. It should be stupid, but whatever.
Yeah.
Close other loopholes. It's always a loophole in the federal background check system.
When I'm like, show me where the loophole is so I can use it.
Yeah. Everyone's like, oh, we got to get rid of what do they call them? Gun show sales. Well, in California, we can't do it anyway. So it's already gone. Why are you guys bringing that one up again?
Yeah.
Close the hate crime loophole. What? There's a loophole if you hate someone? What?
I didn't know about that.
Oh, if you've been convicted of a misdemeanor hate crime, apparently you don't get to own a gun. Oh, man. Dude, look at this. It's just everything's a loophole. Everything's a loophole. Oh, my gosh.
Man. So I'm a little interested. So we know that when, as it continues to be the case during COVID, as people are still scrambling to buy guns, it might have slowed down a little. It's still pretty doggone busy, right? But I'm wondering, we know that there were people who had previously been anti-gun that went to buy guns, and it's harder than they thought it was, and they're frustrated about it because of the laws they helped pass. And I wonder how a Biden plan reads to them now. Just that's interesting to me.
I don't know, because again, if they finally went through the steps and got their gun, they may not care about everyone else.
Yeah, that might be the case.
I mean, we are talking about a liberal.
Selfish. We are talking about liberals. They're selfish.
So
that's
if I got it, I don't really care if anybody else gets to have it.
Yep. Well, that's how it works with gun laws in general. They want to have them. They want no one else to have them.
Yeah.
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 Anyway.
Gun control or gun safety, all it means is we want to have all the guns. We just don't want you to have any guns, because they're not talking about getting rid of their guns. They're in no way saying we're going to become Europe or the UK, right? Yeah. Where even the cops don't have guns. In no way are they saying that. They're like, no, we're still going to have guns. We're still going to have high capacity magazines. We're still going to have assault weapons. Here in California, we got to say that in quotes, because assault is a term that you do. It's not an actual weapon. I can't tell you how many times I've had to explain to people that AR does not stand for assault rifle.
I know. Yeah.
They're like, what? It doesn't stand for that? No, it stands for Armalite.
Yeah.
Company that made it.
The guys at Armalite have to be really frustrated.
They were still around, sure.
Well, I think Armalite
got bought by Colt.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah. Yeah, which they were kind of connected sort of anyway. But yeah. Oh, anyway.
Yeah.
What a time. So, yeah. Well, keep your guns, ladies and gentlemen.
Stock up on ammo, man. If you
stock
can.
Up on ammo.
Last week, I was able to go do some training. It was great. It was fun. What were we doing? Oh, we were doing multiple target engagement. Oh, that's always fun. So times. Especially when we had 3 targets up, and we weren't timed on this one. And so we did all sorts of different drills, and they would put the white target, which is the civilian. You're not supposed to shoot the civilian, and that's covering half of the assailant. And that's the brown target. So, it started out just 2 to the chest, 2 to the chest, 2 to the chest. Then it went to, 2 to the chest, 1 to the head. Then it was 2 to the head. And I mean, they're covering up most of the target. So It was fun, man. It was good times.
Good times. Some good training right there, man.
It really was. It was great. It was really, really good. I enjoyed it tremendously.
Yeah. Which gets us back to man, people need to be training. I know we say it often, but you better be training. It's pretty critical right now.
Yeah, we had a lot of new people at that class. In fact, what they ended up doing is they split the class in half. The more advanced shooters, we were over on one side, and then the new shooters who, you could tell if they were new, they didn't have a holster, they didn't, they were new.
Yeah.
But they still got to get in good training. And it was funny because one of my buddies just happened to come that night. And he was on the new shooter side, and he's like, wow, yeah, what? I'm better with the Beretta than I am with the Springfield. I mean, the Beretta's got a longer barrel on it. And I'm like, 4 1/4 versus 5? Serious? I think you need more practice, buddy. I think, because there's not that big of a difference in performance at this range. I mean, we're talking, they were probably 5 to at most 7 yards. At this range, you just need more practice. Let's just sum it up to I need more practice.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is my general thing. No matter how good I'm doing, I need more practice.
Everyone needs more practice.
We all need it. So, yeah. And I'm having more conversations with people that are like, hey, man, I got my guns, I got my ammo, but I haven't shot them in 3 years. I'm like, you need to get out and shoot. Which makes it trickier now with ammo prices being what they are. And they're like, I'm going to bring over 100 rounds. And I'm like, that's better than nothing. Come and practice. But it means, man, get yourself a practice weapon even. Man, if you even got an airsoft and you practiced with your airsoft, that's better than not practicing at all. I mean, You just get out there, put some rounds down range, practice some ready ups, do something. Get that practice in.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, everybody. So, yeah, I know we're running out of time. This is a lot of fun today, as always. I'll encourage, I know we always give our plug for Lake Erie Arms. We just added that AR care and maintenance class, and I am surprised how big of a deal that class has become. Most of us, even the guys that bought ARs, haven't been maintaining them. They don't know where things need to be lubricated and how that deal needs to go. Sign up for the class. It's $50. It's one night. You make sure that you're running your AR right so it'll run for a long time. And I know right now it's easy to think like, well, cool, I'll just buy another one, or I'll get another carrier group when this one wears out, or whatever. You're not always necessarily going to be able to think that way. You need to make sure you know how to take care of your parts long term. So go to learms.net, sign up for one of our classes. Plenty of other classes as well in there, but get out, train, learn, be ready.
Awesome. All right, guys, we'll be back next week with another great episode. We'll talk to you all then. Take care, everybody.
Take care.
You've been listening to the From Concealment Podcast with Pete Mitchell and Dan Sams. Be sure to tune in next week for more gun talk. Also, check out the From Concealment website for more shooting-related goodness at FromConcealment.com.